welcome back to GTD. I'm Micah Farmer, joined by Keegan Miller once again over lovely Riverside.fm studio, and it is time for some F1 talk here this week, coming off the back of a surprisingly good Imola Grand Prix. Thank you, Pirelli. And let's get right into it. It was a great race. Max Verstappen up front dominated, but the passing in the midfield, there was great strategy. Pirelli brought one step softer tire this week, and it worked out beautifully. There was some great strategy, Keegan.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about strategy, and I think the strategy that really stood out was how I picked my podium. Because if you've noticed, it's a perfect podium. Now, you are still winning
Yes.
far as as far as the season goes, but I made a huge headwind this weekend because you got nobody. And it's our first perfect podium of the season. So there's only a 2-point deficit between me and you now, and that is very, very doable. I was in a hole for a second, but I had a good weekend, and we're looking to make up for that going into Monaco. So yeah.
Yeah, things can change quickly, let me tell you, in the prediction championship. It went from 7-1 to 7-5 now as Keegan nailed the Max Norris Piastri. I went for Piastri, Max, and Albon, and weirdly enough, the point I was closest to getting in the end was Alex Albon for third. I think if Leclerc doesn't push him off at turn one there, he probably gets Piastri and finishes third. Piastri was complaining about his tires, and at the end of the race, that long safety car, I'm glad it lasted that long because I think without it, my boy was absolutely cooked. If it would have been a shorter one, those tires were not hanging on well at all. And at that point, they didn't really have any tires left to go on to. So I really don't blame them for staying out. But from 11th and 12th qualifying, I'll take a fourth and a sixth for Ferrari. As sad as that is to say, that makes me very depressed to say that sentence. But the Williams, I think, have to be commended. Showed up with tremendous speed once again. Alex Albon finishes P5. Now has 40 points through 7 rounds of the season. Almost 6 points per race, which you tell that to a Williams fan in 2019, they would be amazed with the tractor that Robert Kubica and George Russell were driving around that year. But I think this does show that when the tires are good, Imola can still be a good racetrack and still put on a good race. And as someone who's a huge fan of these drivers' tracks, you always talk about with Imola and Suzuka, the big, really fearsome tracks, which I think that's why Max Verstappen thrives at these places. They're drivers' tracks. And if you bring the right tire to make a strategy happen with these teams being in doubt, you're going to get good racing. And I think you saw that. And quickly, Keegan, what are your thoughts on the quote-unquote Maxer class from this week that Franz Hermann put on?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to a few people before the race started, just like their thoughts on how it's going to go and this and that, and every single one of them, without hesitation, told me, "Oh, Oscar Piastri's going to win." And I was sitting there going, "You're not. I get it. He's got the fastest car, and he's been on the best form this year, but you just can't hold a driver like Max Verstappen back." And I think just with all the attention going to the orange and Piastri and this and that, he's kind of sitting there going, did these people forget? Like, I'm Max Verstappen, and if I want to, I can go out there and do what I did at Imola. And you mentioned it; it's a driver's track. I mean, it's not the easiest track to pass that. So all he had to do was get out in front and drive, and that's his favorite thing to do, and he's pretty good at it. So I mean, I just think it was a perfect combination of him going, "Hey guys, I'm still here," and just this track being at this time of the schedule just kind of really benefited him.
Yeah, the move at turn one was one of the best moves in F1 on an opening lap I've ever seen. Came from nowhere, just nowhere at all, and sent it around the outside of Piastri. And I know people are saying, oh, well, Oscar, he could have done this, he could have done that. How are you falling asleep? Who expects someone to come from there at Imola? I think, sure, he could have defended it a little better. It's just an outstanding move from Max, let's be honest. And I think it has to be applauded. Max Verstappen once again proving that he is just the best driver in F1 right now. Absolutely cooking the field once again. Do want to give a brief mention to Franco Colapinto, who was in his first race for Alpine this week. Kind of just existed, had a big crash at the start of the weekend, and I think that was kind of to be expected. We saw that at the end of his Williams tenure last year. Was fast but crashed, and I think it's going to be very telling how he performs versus at Pierre Gasly. Stuck with Albon at times last year. we'll see if he can maintain that kind of speed as the rest of the year moves on. But time to talk about Monaco as we move on to the second part of our Monaco-Annapolis weekend thing here that we've talked about. We sprinkled in some Indy 500 across back and forth, but though neither of us would claim to be real wheel knowledge guys of IndyCar at this point. But let's get into Monaco, and what's your prediction for qualifying, because that's where they'll finish.
Well, this is qualifying. This is the second time I've heard you say Monaco Annapolis. Did you come up with that, or did you read that somewhere? Because I love that. I've never heard it before.
No, I've seen it. It floated around on Twitter last year a little bit.
Okay, yeah, no, it's a great weekend. If you're a racing fan, I love every year there's a show on ESPN. Marty McGee. It's with Marty Smith and Ryan McGee, who both started out predominantly as NASCAR guys, but working with ESPN have really been thrown into the world of F1 with their coverage in America for Formula One. So they really talk about how great and historic this weekend is with tracks like Charlotte and Monaco and the Indy 500, which is the greatest, racing on earth and whatnot. It's so fun just to sit in front of your TV and just watch racing on a 3-day weekend. But as far as this race goes, Formula One and their kind of qualifying run, if you will, like I said, once Max gets hot, racing's a momentum sport, and once Max gets hot, a guy like Max, a driver like him, whether it's NASCAR, F1, or IndyCar, those guys are going to be hot for a while. So I'm going Max again. Actually, no, sorry. I think he's going to do great, but I was reading someone else's predictions, going, "Wait, I don't think I trust Max."
I wonder who I picked to win the Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah, but Monaco, it's a track that the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years has not been kind to us viewers. It's not easy to pass. The cars are twice the size of the street. And it's just, like you said, where you qualify is where you're going to finish. And McLaren has had the fastest car pretty much all year. Yeah, it's no secret. So I'm taking McLaren to win, but I'm going Lando Norris. I think he really kind of bites back. He's kind of been there and there and there to kind of reclaim that, hey, I want to be in this for the Drivers' Championship. Y'all forgot about me after week 2. I'm still here too. So I think this is his kind of weekend to kind of go out there, put that McLaren on pole, which, he can do. He's got the ability to do it. So if he does that, he puts it on pole, has a clean race and does it. And then I'm going Max to finish right behind him because, like I said, he's going to get hot and stay hot. I don't think he wins quite, but I think he's going to stay on podiums for a little bit like he always is. I just don't think he can get past the McLaren. And my third spot, I have a Ferrari. I do think Ferrari's going to try really hard, especially after the strategy they had last week. It was a really good strategy to kind of go from where they were in qualifying, which was not great, to the finishes that they had. And I think it's going to be the veteran Lewis Hamilton to give them that best shot at the podium. So I'm going Lewis Hamilton for third.
Well, as you may have been able to guess, I'm going Max Verstappen for the win here in Monaco. I think off the back of Imola, this guy is just the fastest driver on the grid. We've seen him pull absolute blinders in Monaco qualifying before. The last sector from a couple years ago comes to mind. I think he takes pole. I think he wins. I am sending Charles Leclerc here for second. Hometown hero gets back on the podium. I know the Ferrari hasn't had a ton of quality pace this year. I kind of don't care. Leclerc is just magical around Monaco in qualifying. And I think he delivers it once again and finishes on the podium in second. And then I have Lando Norris beating Oscar Piastri for the second week in a row, coming home third. That McLaren is just fast. It's bad fast. And I do think they're going to run well again here for sure. One thing, though, that might spice up Monaco a bit, you mentioned it had been a little bit dull the last couple of years, mandatory two-stop strategy this year for Monaco. So we'll see if that does anything. If I had to guess, they all just pit at the same time, and it's the same anyway. But hopefully Pirelli can bring a tire that I guess would have to fall apart instantly for that to really matter. At Monaco, it feels like there's never any tire wear at these places. And then if there is, you just sit in front of a guy for 15, 20 laps. I mean, Daniel Ricciardo held off Sebastian Vettel with, I believe it was an MGU-H or MGU-K, one failing on the car. So it can be done here, and I think it's going to be at least a more intriguing Monaco Grand Prix this year because of the strategy, but Monaco is always the best on Saturdays. The qualifying here is some of the best anywhere in the world, I think. Super excited for it. I am a bit sad that this is our last Monaco-Annapolis weekend because Monaco is moving dates next year. we won't have all three together, which I think is an absolute shame. It's been a staple forever, but hopefully you all enjoy such weekend on Memorial Day. Looking forward to Monaco. Hopefully it delivers this year, but for now, that's been Keegan. I'm Mike. This has been GTD. We'll see y'all next week.